again, if you're just joining us, hang tight. Going to be starting in a few short seconds. I think some people are excited about this. I'm just manipulating my screen. Kill it, stop. Come here, don't do that. Kill it. That's my dog. I'm very domestic these days. All right. So let's see, we got a few people on here, and we got people chatting. That's a good thing. Happy Monday, Sabine. Good to see you. Sarah, good to see you. Hi, Sabine. You're back and forth. Tanya Allen, good to see you. And the meeting is hot. People are saying this is hot. Kill it. My dog heated it up. Oh, he thought I was calling him. So if you're just joining us, come on in. We're going to start in just a few short seconds. Your master level training, and this isn't really officially the start. We're gonna get started. This is the introduction to the start, and I will be scheduling another session for this week as well. So get excited. All right, I think we should do this thing. So welcome everybody. Good to see you, Ivana. Good to see you on there. And yes, it is so exciting because we've got, we've got this, as I started to do, and what really kind of turned me on to this and doing it in this fashion was doing the $1 Million Mastermind. And what I've been doing with the $1 Million Mastermind lately is I've been doing one segment a week, one content segment a week, and then every 2 weeks I've been doing a question and answer, a live question and answer. Some people catch the question and answer after the fact, but what I found is that's really, really effective from a teaching standpoint and from a learning standpoint. So I got excited by that. I've decided, by the way, for those of you that are crewing at the basic level certification, I'm going to be doing question and answer calls there as well, and now we're going to be doing the exact same thing. Kill it, come in here. You know what? Hang tight. We're going to start in just 2 seconds. I'm going to bring the dog inside. Kill it. Come here. Don't do that. Don't go parking. Don't do that. We're on TV, Kill it. He doesn't understand. He's just a puppy. So we're going to be doing live question and answer segments in our master level training here too. So I'm very excited by that because I think that it's going to really facilitate our learning. There's a couple of things, and this is just some logistical things for this. And like I said, we're not officially starting yet. This is just kind of the setup for the start, but we'll be starting soon. In terms of some shifts that we're making to the course. One of the things that we noticed is with the number of people that we have taking the course, we've got, people that will submit 30 videos per person. And obviously, you come to realize that that was one of our challenges during the first level training was, getting the videos and then doing the feedback and that type of stuff. So what we've decided to do this round instead is to do the question and answers in between and use that as our ability to take what was put forward in the videos, what was submitted in the videos, and have me offer whatever feedback I can in the question and answer segments, rather than having people have to wait for feedback. And the big, where it really becomes a problem is going to be when we hit the big launch that's coming in. So here we're going into our beta round of the Master Transformational Speaker and Coach Certification Training. We've decided on a title. And as we start this, simultaneously in a week, we're going to be doing the big launch for the first level training. So you got a lot of people coming in, and imagine having 1,000 people going into that course with 30 videos each. It gets bogged down. So what we're going to do instead is do every 2 weeks, we're going to do a question and answer session, and we're going to take a look over the videos, and we're going to ask people not to wait for feedback, but rather we'll tell you if it's a pass or a fail. If there's a problem with it, we'll let you know, and that just streamlines the process for everybody. We're going to do a lot to streamline as much as we can with the learnings that we took from the first round as we go into this beta round to make the course as effective as humanly possible. We have some very cool things that we're going to be adding. As a matter of fact, if you guys, I don't think you've seen the master level site yet. We've just created a master level site where we'll be archiving each of these segments. So as we do our segments, we'll archive them afterwards. So if you don't get an opportunity to do the live segment, you'll find them in there. And the master level site is going to work in exactly the same way as the basic level site has worked. We're going to have the community inside there, so you'll have the opportunity to do that. You'll be getting links for the master level site soon. And also, one other thing that I've decided to add, which I'd love your feedback on at some point, is we're going to add a cafe. So we're going to have the forum area where everybody can interact, and then we're going to have Chris Cafe, I'll name it after myself, within that area. And it's just another forum area where you can connect. So if with your triad, for example, if you had any challenges with your triad, or if people have not shown up for a triad, you can go into the cafe and you can look for other people that are looking for partners for specific exercises. Kind of the same thing that's been happening and occurring inside the Facebook group, but we're going to look to make that happen inside each of the communities, both at the basic level as well as the master level. Another thing, just from a housekeeping perspective, that I want you to know that's coming up, and because you've been here with us since day one, you came in as our first group in, and you're coming in as our first group here to the master level training. We're always going to give you the best of everything when we can, when we're bringing new people in, or when I have a new idea and we're going to launch something in a different way. I'm going to share with you right now. You get first heads up that we are actually going to launch. It's likely going to be a 3-tiered option. So for the world, as we now open up the big launch, and people are going to be mailing out next Monday, and our 4-part video sequence for the basic level course will be going out to people all over the world. And this is a 4-part video sequence that is brand new, that is based on the old ones that I did, the trial versions, but it's brand new. It's hot too. It's really hot. And, if you're going to be an affiliate, you can sign up for that, and you can pass out the video sequence to people. And what happens is they go through the 4-part video sequence. Some people will be joining us for that course at the end. We do expect a lot of people to join. And what we're going to be doing is actually launching a full year program. And the full year program will be all certification levels, right up to the professional speaker and the transformational speaker certification level, which will occur after the master level training. So when people sign up right now, they're going to have the option to push that button and sign up for the entire year. Now, when I was doing these courses in the live format, which is, this is the first time that we've done it in the online format. When I was doing it in the live format, for somebody to do that, all 3 of those levels of training, and then 1 or 2 levels of training beyond, and I'll show you what I mean in a second, would cost probably about $16,000. And right now, we're at a point where we're going to keep the whole package for a full year of training. We're going to keep it at under $3,000 for everybody coming in. For you, it's a different story. We're going to keep it even less expensive because you came in, you were the pioneers and all of that, and you're the pioneers here in our program here. I've made a lot of learnings. One of the things I've realized is that, I have a better understanding of how to pull off the webinar format. So we can do it in a webinar format, which has a live functionality to it, so we don't have to wait for content segments to be done. But what I'll likely be doing is turning out webinars, transcribing those, and re-putting them into the account with better versions of them as we proceed. But this allows us to just plug along at a steady pace, which means that I think for this course we should be planning to do 2 segments a week. So expect to do 2 learning segments a week, and they will be live. So they're going to be live, and then we'll do every 2 weeks. We'll do a question and answer session once again. And so that's kind of cool. That's very exciting. It's very exciting that we're going to go ahead and launch the speaking level training as well, which I was expecting that would be in the following year. But doing the trainings in this live type format, we can get so much done. So I'm really, really excited about that. So essentially what this means is somebody could sign up right now and do a year-long program where, upon successful completion, and by the way, it's always upon successful completion because, every time I've got to put my name to a certificate, I've got to think about it and think, who is this person? And is this person somebody that we want out there with my name on a certificate? So that's always a consideration. And I've had people over the years that I haven't been able to certify. I've always been very, very clear about what it takes to get certification. And, if you're concerned at all, don't be concerned. Instead, be excited because you'll make it happen. But this is a serious certification course. And as we go into the professional speaker level, which will be afterwards, we'll just figure out some kind of rate to throw on there for you that'll be a better deal than everybody else gets. And we may do some. I'm thinking about adding one of our higher level speaker trainings on it as well to make it a full year process. But I'm really, really excited because what this, I think that the reason why people would want to come and train with us, and I've been teaching on the road for 15 years, and the one thing that we've heard over and over again that we've got better than anybody else in the world, and I don't say that from an ego perspective, I just say that from a reality-based perspective, and from what we've heard from our students, is our presentation and platform skills training is absolutely hands down the best on the planet. And we've had trainers from the biggest names in the industry that have come in and told us that as they were coming out. They're like, this is it. I've never seen anything better. So knowing that that's such a big component of everything that we do, these trainings kind of build up. You've got the first level, and by the way, if you appreciated the first level, you're going to love this level where you are right now. I had people that came up to me over the years and they said, Chris, the master level training, like, why didn't you sell this to me more? They said, with the value that I got out of this, my skills haven't doubled from the basic level training. My skills have, increased by 8 to 10 times. And it's the truth. That's what you're going to experience as you go through the master level training. And then when you get to the professional speaker level training, this is what I'm, professional speaker and transformational speaker. There's 2 certifications we'll give at that level. You're going to come out of there and go, who am I? How was I ever that person before? Things change so much. So I'm really, really thrilled about the path that we're on. And the reason why I'm so excited about it is because the one thing that we do very, very well is we train transformational speakers, and it's been a while, and transformational speakers and transformational coaches, and it's been a while coming that I've been looking for exactly the right positioning for what we do. In the world of NLP is kind of it's an ambiguous science in that a lot of people will come into it for a lot of different reasons, and as you're learning this stuff, I don't know how you're going to apply it. You may. Maybe you're a professional athlete and you want to help to bring out the best in other athletes. I've had a lot of gold medalists and different types of athletes come through our trainings at various times, and they came in and they thought, that's my niche. That's where I'm going to go. And I've had other people that have focused just on relationships. I've had other people that focused just on wealth building. But I've had other people that were entrepreneurs and just used it for to grow their own business as effectively as possible, or people that came in from a Reiki background and they used this as a model to really make their business work. When you get to the professional speakers level, I'm actually going to give you a business plan and a marketing plan, which if you use it, you'll be successful. It's the same marketing plan and business plan I started my business with, so I give that to you there. So I think that the building blocks are important. But like I said, it was an ambiguous, when we first started doing this, it was like, okay, NLP for what? So you'd get people that would come in from all over the place that had an understanding of the sciences, or they were acquainted with the sciences a little bit, and they're like, yeah, I want to master that. A lot of them came from Tony Robbins, right? Tony Robbins, they saw that he had come from an NLP background, so they came in wanting to do something like that. And so over the years, from a branding perspective, we've used different types of branding for the courses based upon the niche that we were, as a company, as an individual company, looking to target and looking to get just right. And in the beginning, here, I'll give you a perfect example. In the beginning, I was teaching primarily coaches, therapists, and coaches and therapists. We got a lot of psychologists, a lot of marriage and family therapists, a lot of educators too, teachers and school systems. So that was the primary people that were coming to me when I was branding from an NLP perspective and just NLP. And then we changed our titles, and this is why you've seen some title changes. There's a couple of reasons why you've seen title changes. Number one is for legalities, and as companies changed hands, we had to make sure that we were doing the right thing. Number two is because I had different ideas of what best communicated what the sciences were all about. So over the years, you've heard different titles. We talked about result certification, or we talked about wealth acceleration training, all these types of things. Because ultimately what I was attempting to do was get people to understand what the tools were for from my view of the world. And I looked at it in terms of wealth acceleration. I said it's about accelerating wealth in every area of your life, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, creating wealth on every level. And that, to me, made a lot of sense. However, there's also a little confusion in explaining it that way, because you just say wealth acceleration and people really don't know what it is. When I talk about wealth acceleration, I'm talking about it from an alchemy sort of way, how to transform lead into gold in your life or in the lives of others. So that's what I talk about. But, in doing this exercise of taking what we did really, really well, I mean, we went out to Australia and we owned Australia. Basically, we owned that market. We were the largest personal and professional development company in Australia, and we rolled out to London and had a big splash and had 6,000 people in our first event out there. Number one, because people love this stuff. You know, what we're learning here is stuff that there's a market for sure. This is, that's the good thing. The benefit that I had in being in the live marketplace, though, was that people would hear about my weekend seminar, Breakthrough to Success, which, by the way, we're going to be running for the first time in 3 years in Los Angeles, and it's going to be the weekend of August 24th. I'll give you all a set of tickets. I want you to know that we're about to do some launches, and we'll be packaging tickets in with things. And it's not a free seminar. It used to, we've done scholarships and things like that to it in the past. It's a 2.5-day weekend. It's $1,219. I raised the price. Before, people were giving passes out. We gave the ability to give passes, and everybody basically got in. Now it's a $1,219 seminar, and it's infinitely more valuable than that. However, I am going to package tickets in with various things, and I'll tell you right now that you got tickets for that. So that, that'll help to bring some people in. We have 500 people enrolled already. It's going to be in Los Angeles the weekend of August 24th. So if you're around, you can absolutely come in and get a live 2.5-day experience of these types of tools. And those will be complimentary to you for those tickets. And what you can do, by the way, if you want a set of tickets, is simply you can email our office at customerservice@chrishoward.com, and we'll make sure you get a set of tickets to that and help you to get enrolled. Customerservice@chrishoward.com. That weekend, I would get people all over the world coming in, and they'd get a taste of what it was that we were offering. They're like, wow, we want to do everything. I could have titled the courses whatever I wanted, right? It's like, we just want more of this stuff because it's infectious. People want it, in a good way. And so the titles of the courses didn't matter as much. But now, as we're coming into an online world, much of which doesn't know who I am yet, so the marketplace knew who I was. As we come online and we can reach out to everywhere in the world, but a lot of people don't know who I am. So we had to get even more precise in terms of what we're offering and who we're offering it to. When I first took NLP, I took an NLP certification. That was what it was called. And I took it with a provider group for psychologists up in Northern California, in Chatsworth, if you know where that is. And I was there was one other business guy in there. Everybody else was a psychologist or a marriage and family therapist. And it was called NLP. Well, certain people are attracted to a training like that. And then, I've had an evolution of different titles, like I said, attempting to position for our own positioning. And then I look at what I've done best over the years. And what I've done best and who I've actually helped the most have been people that wanted to, that doesn't mean, once again, that everybody that comes into this is going to want to be a master transformational speaker and coach. Right? And by the way, it's our master transformational speaker and coach path, right? So at the basic level, we give basic level transformational leader and coach. At the master level, you get master transformational leader and coach. And the speaker certification will actually come on the third level certification, which is the one right after this, where you'll actually be certified as a transformational speaker and a professional speaker. Professional speaker is, that's something to toot your own horn of that, because it's a big accomplishment when you make it there. And my intention is I'm not trying to sell you that course. I'm trying for you to understand where we're headed with all this stuff and what the whole path is for you. So in terms of getting our branding, this is what I've done best over the years, was transformational coaching and speaking. And so I feel really solid, and I feel like people get what it is when I say it. So that's what our attempt has been. And so I feel like we're grabbing our niche and running with it. And I feel really, really excited too, because I believe that truly we're revolutionizing right now. We're revolutionizing the world of training and development, because here we are in a training where we're asking you to close the communication loop. I can communicate things to you, and then you got to close that communication loop by recording videos and screen capturing and all that stuff, and then submitting those. And we're doing some things to facilitate that process this round, and a lot with your feedback. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for jumping in and helping us out along the way here in terms of making the course even better. And so with all of that said, let me show you just historically who we've been over the years. We started our trainings with a live training platform. And when I first started, I started with the seminar Breakthrough to Success, which is the one that we're going to be doing in August, and it's the one that you're invited to. All right. Let me make sure. Is everything all right on the sound and everything? You guys got a good, yeah, you do. Okay, everybody's cool. So we started with Breakthrough to Success, and that's that weekend. Yeah, hope that you can come. Love to have you there. And then we had our results certification and our master results certification. If you look at our pyramid, it's a little out of sequence here. It wasn't Rich Heart, Wealthy Mind, and the Warrior Spirit. Results was the next level training, and master results was the second level training. That was actually then later became Wealth Acceleration 1, Wealth Acceleration 2. Now, which we've settled on would be, oh no, I don't want you to get ahead. You shouldn't know all that stuff yet. Go back. What we've settled on is the title, the Transformational Speaker and Coach Certification Training. And then the presentation and platform skills level you see right there on the slide in the center of it. And that we've now retitled our Professional Speaker and Transformational Speaker Training. And we're doing these in the online format now. Now, we also had Rich Heart, Wealthy Mind, and the Warrior Spirit Training, which you see down there at the bottom, which I'm going to be combining as we move forward into the future. I'm going to be taking Rich Heart, Wealthy Mind likely and moving that into Augment Our Breakthrough to Success in our live versions of the future. Warrior Spirit, I'll be adding that to something and combining that with something. Now, notice up above presentation and platform skills training, we have two higher level presentation skills training. We've got Advanced Presenter Immersion and Ultimate Trainer Accelerator. These were 4-day live trainings that I am also going to be bringing into the online format. And right now, I've got so much to decide on what we're going to do just prior to the launch, because we're launching on Monday. We're doing our pre-launch, which means all of our affiliates are going to start mailing out for this, and I have to have everything in place for that. So it's a very busy week. But these two trainings, I'll see if I'm going to add that into the full year training or if I make it a little bit extra, because it's so much. I mean, it's a whole lot of training. And I'm assuming that people can do maybe 2 segments a week as we do the whole year thing. And with that said, we may only get one of the advanced trainings in, and then maybe we'll have an extra training after that to do something with that content. But I will tell you that we do have and you see it at the top, we'll skip over Billionaire Bootcamp for a second. We have a Master Trainer Development Track. And that's something, I'm adding the whole thing now. So I'm going a little bit crazy with this. We're going all the way. Before it was, okay, we'll roll out one training at a time. We'll do the basic level training. Then we'll roll out the master. Now we're just rolling the whole thing. So we are going to have a Master Trainer Development Track where you could actually be certified as a trainer, a transformational trainer, a certified transformational trainer, and a certified Master Transformational Trainer going through these programs. The trainer type route with that it's after the professional speaker route, and it's going to require more of an internship type of a thing. So crewing and that type of stuff to help in that capacity with other classes. And It's given over time. It's not just given at the end of a training. It's given as a result of a relationship that we create. And then we have our coaching and mentoring program that we've had over the years as well that will be reinstating. We had 50 live coaches around the world at one point that were coaching people that work with us. We'll reinstate that in an online format. And if you're interested in going that path and becoming a coach for us in the future, that'll be there too. Don't inundate me with emails right now. I'll let you know when we do that because we got to launch each thing when we're set and we're ready for that. Let's see. Just a couple other logistical things that we're working on. What we're really doing is we're working to streamline these courses, because one of the challenges that we have is that in lowering the prices of the courses, and I want to keep them relatively low. I think somebody will be able to do the full year training for $3,000 instead of $16,000, like I said before. But we also have to realize that the amount of support that can happen inside that really needs to be streamlined and optimized. That's why we're looking to take support functions that might be on the office, and we'll probably end up having like a ticket system for support calls or any of the customer service things like that from the office perspective. However, we're adding in the question and answer calls and things like that. So if I can do it, if I can take the function of them, which isn't really covered by the amount of money that we take in, and I can replace it with me giving an hour of my time, every 2 weeks for the question and answers, that's the best way for me to do that. And so we're looking to optimize, we're looking to fine tune and change the way that we interact with you as a community and with future classes as a community. And if you have ideas for us and stuff, I'm always open to that. The place to throw them out would probably just be a personal email or whatever. But we're a work in progress here. But I think we're a good enough work in progress where we can take the ball and run with it here and make things happen. But we're always going to be looking to optimize the user experience, optimize the educational experience, the transformational experience, and we're really looking to do it with less resources on the office side and more of me plugging in at key times to make an even bigger impact. Because what I noticed in the $1 Million Mastermind was, we do a 90-minute question and answer call, and in that time, I really felt, and like Sarah, you've been in there. Some of Shelly, I think you may have been in there too. There's a few of you that have been in the mastermind calls, but in that amount of time, I really felt like I was getting a lot of questions answered that could help people. And so that's pretty exciting. So a lot of exciting things happening. Now, I want you to know what's now happening with the live training model. I'm not dumping it. I'm not abandoning it. I'm taking that, and once again, everything in its own time, but we are now going to franchise that around the world so that anybody who wants to teach the live trainings that we once did can purchase the rights to their city, the exclusive rights, and they can run wealth and achievement training, live seminars in their city. And there'll be a city fee. I mean, it's not free to do that. There's a fee, just like if you were to buy a franchise someplace, and then there's royalty fees. But that way, we can have the live trainings done all over the world. And the reality is that there's a lot of people that like to do live trainings. And I think they're beneficial too. I think there's a place for each. I think right now, like I've said many times to you, we're riding the crest of a wave, educating in the way that we are. I'm really thrilled that we can do this, and I'm proud of the level of the education that people are getting. And you guys have really gone the extra distance. I mean, here you were figuring out how to do your own videos and stuff and working your tails off to do that. I'm impressed. I'm humbled by that because it hasn't been easy coming out the starting gate. Our goal is to take those processes, optimize them, get them really, really well coded and ordered and sequenced for the new classes coming in, so they don't have to go through the same trial and error. What it does say about you is that you're somebody that has what it takes to go the distance, and that's very, very cool. And so we're living on the crest of this wave where, pretty soon these courses, they can only get better, right? And then to have the live trainings augmented, I really see them feeding one another. So while we're running the trainings online, other people could be doing the live trainings. I mean, maybe you want to get a franchise in an area or something like that and run the live trainings. I've done it with this model. I did it $650,000 my first year in business, right? So it's something to think about. And the nice thing is, if you're going the master trainer development track, keep educating yourself, and then maybe it's a goal to put out there for you as we move forward. I want to make sure that I've got my guns locked and loaded before I go to support somebody in that function doing that. I really want to be ready for that. So I want you to know where we're headed, but that's a very exciting opportunity. And the world of live training has not seen its end by any means. And I think that people that do the online trainings will want to do the live trainings with various franchisees around the world. I think vice versa, the people that do the live trainings will want to do ours so they can feed each other. And the live trainings, there's good money in that. What's interesting is, and I've learned this more and more as we've been progressing, and I've been helping people build businesses and doing all this stuff, is that you hear all the things about the $1 million launches online and stuff like that, and there's truth to all of it, but there's also the business truth behind all of it, where you look at the people that are doing the $1 million launches, there's usually just a 15% margin, which means they keep 150,000, not $1 million, right? So now you compare that. Somebody does $1 million launch online of a product. It would be really nice to do $1 million launch with what we have coming out with the new training. Be a part of it if you want. The commissions are huge, because if somebody signs up for the full year training, and I'm still going to get that price point in there. But if somebody goes the full year, that's a $3,000 sale, I believe. It'll be between $3,000 and $2,500. That's a $1,500 commission. You get a 50% commission on everybody that signs up, so it's huge. And nobody does this in the industry, I'm hard coding the leads. So if somebody signs up under your affiliate link, not only do you get the 50% commission of what they sign up for, but then I'm going to give you, if it's a first level commission, I'm going to give you 20% of anything that they purchase at the live Breakthrough to Success program, because we're going to give tickets to the live program when they sign up for whatever they sign up for. And then if they come to the Breakthrough to Success, we'll do about $1,200 per head, usually in sales. So every person that you have come there would probably be approximately $360 additional commission in your hand. So it's really kind of, you can participate in the success if you want to do this. I think we're just doing something extraordinary, because I really want to launch it big. This is our time here. So you have an opportunity to be a part of that as an affiliate if you'd like. Now, so I think the future is very, very exciting. And here's the exciting part too. For people that come in and do the whole track for the year, right? It's like, if I keep it under $3,000, which I will, it'll be like $2,997 and maybe a little cheaper. We'll see. And it's going to be different for you. You're getting even cheaper. So, but anybody that does that, when you do a live training, and here's the thing, if you teach a live training in anything, if you're going to do, let's say your specialty is real estate, or your specialty is energetic healing, or your specialty is, like Sabine, I see you on there. Your specialty is educating young people on trips, on philanthropic journeys and adventures. If you do a live training for a 1-week training, and most of them, guys, just real quickly, I want you to type in, if you've been to a live 1-week training that was paid before by you, what's the average price that you paid for that live 1-week training? Write some numbers in there. I want to see in the chat bar. What's the average price that you paid for like a serious 1-week training? If you've done one, just throw some numbers in on the chat bar. I want to see this. And let me know you're still there too by the chat bar. Okay, good. So 600 UPW, you paid 600. Hey, Soul Man, good to see you. So 600. What else? For a live 1-week training. Now UPW also is about 4 days. It's 600 for that. What else, guys? A 1-week training? Yeah. Anybody do a 1-week training? Never done one? 500 for 3 days, hypnosis. Okay. Was that a certification, Chris? Just curious. Probably. Yeah. Cool. Anybody do a 1-week training? Nobody's done one? Okay. I'll tell you in the marketplace, a 1-week training, I'll tell you just our trainings. In the Fast Track to Success, when we do it, in a live training environment, we would have, if we did the basic level certification course that you guys have already been through, that course would go for, there was a brochure price or the office price, and then there was the price that people paid. They got a discounted rate. which, so we would discount. I mean, and there was a big discrepancy too. The office price for that training was $10,995, but it gets discounted all the way down to when they buy it at the event. It helps to incentivize people. It gets discounted down to, I think at the least it was like $2,600, right? But Shelley says 1 year training, including 1 week live training, was $18,000 that you paid for that. Tanya Allen, thanks for chiming in there. Business and or franchise training. By the way, Tanya, I want to talk to you about our trainings. So we got to talk some more. Business and or franchise training, 5 to 8K. Tanya does franchises. She helps to set up franchises. Good. So, there's all these, hey, you're worth it. Jared, good to see you. So, when you look at a live, Jared, throw out some live training prices. You've done a 1 week training before. What do you pay for that 1 week training in anything? Like if it was, one of Harv's trainings or something, or, what do you pay for that 1 week training? Somebody throw out a price. 25 to 5,000. Okay, there's a number that I'm looking for, because usually that's what it's going to be. At our Billionaire Bootcamp training, I think that was a $6,000 training. Check this out. If somebody that comes in that's not even going to get the great deal that you guys get, that pays $3,000 for the entire year and becomes a certified professional speaker, certified transformational speaker, becomes a master transformational coach like you're going to be here, all you have to do is train one person in a 1 week training, and you made back the entire price of your entire investment. It's crazy. It's crazy. Do you think that I've trained more than one person over the last 15 years? The answer is of course, right? I mean, I've trained thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands. That's why when I look at the live training model, I say that's not dead. There's a lot. When we would go and do a Breakthrough to Success, for example, on the Weekend Pro program, and I'm just talking business here with you for a second, but I just want you to get the huge value of the way of what you're getting from this education. Now, I know you already get it, but it's mind-boggling for me. Because when I do a Breakthrough to Success, if I had 1,000 people in the room, we do $1.2 million in sales and back of the room sales for other programs, right? And here you're getting that same level of training. You're getting the same training that I got to be able to go out and teach these. And I'll tell you this. I'll tell you exactly how many people. When I first got certified as a trainer of NLP, and I ended up paying probably $13,000 for that path. You guys are going to go all the way, and you guys are going to be professional speakers, the whole bit. And you're going to get the same, you're going to get beyond the education that I got. But when I first got certified, I had 22 people sign up for the first training I did. You can do the exact same thing. And it was easy. And like somebody said to me, oh, you can't say that your students can go out and do the same thing you did. I said, yes, I can. I had the same conversation the other night. And they said, why? Come on, but you're you. And I said, no. I said, it wasn't because I was so great. I became a trainer. I got certified, which you guys are going to be on this path. I got certified. And then I went and I found somebody who had been teaching this stuff but wasn't certified as a trainer, as a speaker. I went and found him. His name was Gary Rodriguez. Some of you may know him. I partnered with him, and he said, let's do a training together. And we did our first 1 week training together. He just sent out to the list of people he already had. They came in. We had 22 people that all paid this price. So I'm saying you could have like that through the education that you get with here. You go out and make it back infinitely. And then 22 of those people, because we did such a kick-ass training and they all wanted more, 15 of them signed up right there for the next one. And we did $70,000 in sales in a 1 week period of time. I think it was about 2 weeks. I think it was a 10-day training that we did, but just radical. Radical transformation. So I'm really, really thrilled to have you here, to have you on this path. I'm thrilled for the people that are going to come after you, because it's like the value is insane. It's insane. So welcome to your master level training, and we haven't started yet. Okay, so let's look at a couple of things, and we're going to be doing a layer of paint from the basic level training here and looking at things a little bit deeper. And this is just the setup. We're still not started. If you look at our slide here, we've got this little guy, and that's you, that's anybody. And that's me, that could be anybody. All right. According to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who wrote the book Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience, our nervous systems, your nervous system, is being bombarded every single second by over how many bits of information? Somebody type it in. Every single second, your nervous system is being bombarded by over how many bits of information per second? Somebody said 2 million bits. That's correct. Thank you, Maria. You win my love and affection. Okay, so you got over 2 million bits of information coming in via the five senses. You couldn't be aware of all of that simultaneously. You'd go insane. So what you do is you do the process of deletion, distortion, and generalization. Distortion is seeing one thing and mistaking it for being something else with a personal bias, right? That's distortion. Distortion, I remember one day I was at Disneyland when I was a kid, and I was looking for my Aunt Darlene. We were supposed to meet up with her. I was going through the crowd, and I thought I saw her up ahead. I started to say, Aunt Darlene, Aunt Darlene, and I started running at her, and I got real close, and I saw it wasn't her. They didn't know I needed glasses, but I thought it wasn't her, and I kept running past because I didn't want to be embarrassed, going, Aunt Darlene, toward nothing, right? But that's distortion, taking one thing and making it mean something else. Generalization. And by the way, I'll say this, that we have distortions that empower us and that disempower us. We have generalizations that empower us and that disempower us. We have deletions that empower us and disempower us, right? So generalization is the process of taking one thing and making it mean many things. And people have generalizations that empower them. They say, boy, I did this well. I went out and I made a sales call and I made the sale and I landed it. I did that really well. I'll do every sale well. That's a generalization. Then you get some people that sit on a rocking chair. They fall out of the rocking chair when they're a kid. And they think, oh, my God, all rocking chairs are bad, right? Or worse yet, they overgeneralize even that. And they say all chairs are bad. And people do that all the time in the context of relationships, in the context of finances, in the context of all sorts of things. So our distortions empower us or disempower us. Our generalizations empower us or disempower us. And then we have our deletions. And deletions are just the things you leave out, right? What's a major filter? I'm going to ask you guys, somebody put it up for me. What's a major filter that would determine what you leave out, what you don't pay attention to, what you don't sort for, what you delete? Somebody throw something up there for me. What's a major filter that would determine that? What you leave out that would determine the deletions in your life? Give me a major filter. Belief, sure. Yeah. So a belief is a major filter that will determine what you sort for. If you don't believe, like I worked with somebody once who believed that anybody who was a salesperson was a shyster, was a snake oil salesperson and he believed that one had to lie to be in sales. Wow, what a model of the world. And therefore he would sort for that and he would see that everywhere. And what was worse was that when he felt he had to sell somebody, he also lied, right? Now you take that out. And for me, the most incredible salesperson is the person who under promises and over delivers and who takes personal responsibility. If they make a mistake, they correct it, they make it better. That's the ultimate salesperson for me. I don't, and my model for that is Warren Buffett. But those two people are going to live two entirely different lives, and they're going to delete certain things. They're also going to distort differently, and they're also going to generalize differently. And that was a generalization in and of itself that caused the deletions. A belief is a generalization. Trauma, Shelley says as well. Yeah, any type of major trauma. Now, what the trauma will do, trauma will either get anchored into our nervous system in a way which causes specific reactions, right? So the trauma gets anchored in, you get some sort of a trigger that triggers off that emotional response, and that emotional response would cause the deletions, and or we have some sort of trauma in our life, and we say that it's not the events in our lives that shape our lives so much as the decisions that we make about those events. So if somebody has trauma in their life, and they decide that, let's say they had some sort of abuse in their past, and they decide that all men are bad, right? Or that, or any other type of decision like that, where they decide that they're not good enough or they're not worthy, right? As a result of that, and that's gonna shape somebody's entire existence. So yeah, all these things are going to determine the deletions, distortions, and generalizations in our life. And what's not immediately obvious is that everything that we see on the slide here, as we look at this guy's head, these are all the filters that make up, or actually, this is everything from the basic level and the master level. It appears on this slide, believe it or not. Everything from the basic level and the master level appears on this slide. So inside this person's head, oops, sorry, you're not ready for that. Yes, you are, but we're not going to give it to you yet. Okay, inside this person's head, we have things like attitudes, right? Attitudes are abstract filters. And attitudes are a collection. By the way, if you're taking notes or whatever, that's great. Like I said, this will be archived and placed into your account. You'll be getting information on your account soon. Attitudes are collections of beliefs and values around a given subject. Attitudes are collections of beliefs and values around a given subject. They're usually such an abstract filter that they're a little bit challenging to work with from a process perspective. It's not that you can't help somebody shift their attitude. You absolutely can. But what we tend to do is chunk down a little bit more, and we go for the values and the beliefs themselves that make up somebody's attitude, typically. I mean, there's other ways that we'll talk about and go into at this training, such as behavioral tasking. This was one of Dr. Milton Erickson's favorite ways to create more of an investment in an intervention. And I'll give you some titles of some books if you want to read up on some books that I didn't mention to you in the basic level training, that if you really want to augment your education here, you can check these out. There's one book called Phoenix. It's spelled Phoenix. It's like the city, right? So Phoenix, and that is by, I believe that's by Gordon, Gordon. And in that book, Phoenix, that whole book, most of the books on Milton Erickson are about the either the language patterns of Milton Erickson, the conversational hypnosis patterns of Dr. Milton H. Erickson, or the teaching tales of Erickson, usually about stories that he would tell. And they're phenomenal books. You can, if you haven't read some of those, there's one, My Voice Will Go With You, the teaching tales of Dr. Milton Erickson. If you want to learn more about metaphors and metaphor construction, we're going to go much deeper into that here too. You'll learn advanced ways to use metaphors and things like that. So much, right? So the teaching, My Voice Will Go With You, the teaching tales of Milton Erickson, beautiful book. But in terms of the behavioral tasking of Erickson, I think you would be very well advised to read the book Phoenix. And inside that book, it talks all about the tasks that he would give for people he was working with. The achievement of a task would presuppose the change that he wanted. I'll say that again. The accomplishment or the achievement of the task would presuppose the change that he wanted. And I'll go into that deeper as we get further into the training, but it's like they couldn't accomplish the task without having the change assumed within it. So very powerful stuff. So, and those were good ways to change people's attitudes. A lot of people say, well, how do you work with somebody who doesn't want to be worked with? Because, the whole setup and the whole frame in the beginning training is that, when you got two people working toward a common intention, you can create anything. Well, there are ways to get people to move toward that common intention when they're not on board, and a lot of that would occur through behavioral tasking. We'll talk about that later. Values are simply what's important to you. They're defined as what's important to you. They drive all of your upfront behavior, all of it, because I'll bet you won't do something unless it's important to you. Okay, you may do things that you don't want to do, but they've got to be important to you if you're going to act on them. And so your values they're actually motivation filters. They provide all of your upfront motivation. And values is a major content segment of this particular training. So, and it's one of the most powerful things that you're going to learn in terms of working here. If somebody has a money issue, 9 times out of 10, it's a values issue. If they have a health issue, 9 times out of 10, it's a values issue. They have a relationship issue, 9 times out of 10, it's a values issue. And you guys are going to learn how to change values here. You're going to learn how to install values. You're going to learn how to, change, install, how to elicit somebody's values, how to fulfill somebody's values. So very, very powerful stuff. Now, I got to ask you guys a question because I'm not sure. Did I say that this first session was going to be 1 hour or 1.5? Somebody will let me know what I said because I'm not sure what I said on the meeting, and it will cut me off if it was supposed to be an hour. So 4 hours, I think, says Gary. Perfect. 1.5. It said that on the thing. Just so I don't go over and. Are you sure, Sarah? Just let me know, and if you say yes, I believe you because Sarah knows all. I will confirm. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Values are what's most important to you. They drive your behavior. They're also evaluation filters. They tell you how to feel about somebody's action after they've taken that action, or how to feel about your own action after you've taken it. Beliefs. Beliefs are a feeling of conviction about a certain subject. So a belief is a feeling of conviction about a certain subject. A lot of people would look at values as simply being a higher level of belief, right? So some people could say a value is a belief about what's important to you in life. Just a different way to look about it, kind of interesting. We've got memories as one of the filters inside somebody. Memories are the equivalent of reference experiences in life. And so the memories that somebody has or the reference experiences will oftentimes affect, will always affect what they're even capable of seeing or experiencing in the world. An example of that would be, here's a reference experience of Oprah Winfrey's, and this comes from our Billionaire Bootcamp training. Which I didn't talk about before. We're going to be combining that with our Adventure Club. I'm going to be doing it online. We're going to be doing some very cool stuff with that. I forgot to tell you about that. Billionaire Bootcamp was the result of, I had learned all this stuff. I had learned how to change all these things, change my values, change my beliefs, but I still hadn't done it in my life. And so I decided I was going to use all the psychological profiling tools and installation tools of hypnosis and NLP to model billionaires. And I went about doing that. And I revolutionized my own life. I went from being $70,000 in debt to making that much in a day, and then, often $1 million a day. I mean, that really made a profound impact for me, and I created a 1-week training based on that. We're going to be doing an online version of that that'll be coming out pretty soon too. So very excited about that. But one of the things that Oprah Winfrey tells is a story of when she was on the set of the movie A Color Purple. And when she was doing that movie, she went to Amblin Entertainment, which was Steven Spielberg's production company, and she looked at it and she said, wow, I had no idea that it was possible for a human being to create something like this. And it was then that the seed for the idea for Harpo Entertainment, which is Oprah spelled backwards, for Harpo Entertainment was planted and born, and she then went on to create the same thing or create something very similar. Now, it was the reference experience that she had in going to Amblin Entertainment that allowed her to transport her imagination to a new place. So your reference experiences, your memories from the past absolutely determine where your imagination goes. So if somebody grew up in a family, for example, where, like Donald Trump said, by the age of 16, I knew everything there was to know about real estate. He said, I never took a class. He said, I just sat around listening to my father talk to contractors on the phone, and I learned how a deal is done. Well, that's what happened. So, now he could have made a decision that, he could say, oh, my father's not happy and he does business, and therefore I'm not going to do business, and money creates unhappiness. The decisions he could have made from those reference experiences obviously would affect his life as well. But the reference experiences are very powerful programming in terms of what we can even see, what we can pay attention to. And I think that makes sense. Now, I know it makes sense. I hope it makes sense for you. Then we've got decisions. Decisions are decisions like where you can either decide that one thing means, and this is really important. We're going to get into this here in a second. So the meaning of an event is based, or the meaning we ascribe to an event is based on the decisions that we make about that event, right? We either decide that it means that we can do anything that we want in our life, that's a generalization or a belief, or we decide that because this event occurred that we're never going to amount to anything, or we can't be loved, or we can't have a great relationship. I did that. I know that in my life, my parents were divorced when I was 5 years old. I had a series of pets that were there was a serial killer of pets, believe it or not. It was just ridiculous. Guy up the street was shooting arrows at my cats and poisoning our pets, just wild stuff. And I remember when I was 13 years old and I had a dog that grabbed my cat out of my hands and ripped its throat out right in my hands. I'm a 13-year-old kid. And it was traumatizing for me. I mean, we could throw those ideas away because it was traumatizing. And at that point, I remember going into my mother and saying, Mom, how come anything that I love either runs away or dies? And it wasn't an unconscious decision. It was very conscious. In fact, I could look back to my past. And I remember it very well. And I made a decision that day that I was going to be a certain kind of person, and it ruled my life up until a couple of years ago. Thank God that I have this stuff, because it ruled my life. And as a result, I wasn't present inside relationships. As a result, I was dissociated and detached in life. I had issues with intimacy, all sorts of stuff, right? So, and that leads, and those decisions can lead on to further problems, right? Because if I was not only dissociated in life, but I also felt that I needed to win the love of my father after the divorce, and I needed to prove all this stuff, and I became a human doing rather than a human being. And you look at all that stuff, and you go back and you look at it and you say, boy, that comes from one decision that was made that, or a series of decisions that lead to the patterns that we run in our lives and in our lives overall. So decisions are very, very powerful. Sarah says it doesn't say any time in the email. We'll try again. Okay, thank you. If I take any away from the training, don't worry about it. We'll keep going. If for any reason it was only 1 hour and it cuts off, then we'll just say, hey, great training, and I'll send you the next announcement. Right now we've got this happening on Monday. I think that I will probably plan the next training session but we have let's see, I think I can say that we can do it on Wednesday before, because I have another session at 6. So we'll do another one at Wednesday at 4, and you'll also be getting your account information. So if you can't make that one, it's 4 o'clock my time. If you can't make that one, then what will happen is you'll be able to get these inside your account. All right. So these decisions that we make when we're kids, they rule our entire lives and what becomes of our lives. So, and we have powerful processes for dealing with that. We have the decision destroyer to go back in and work with things like this. We've got language. Language is something that is a major filter to our perception. So the language that you have, Ludwig von Wittgenstein, the analytical philosopher, said, whereof one cannot think, one cannot speak, and whereof one cannot speak, one cannot think. Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, says if you want to increase your wealth, there's only one thing you need to do, which is increase your financial vocabulary. When you increase your financial vocabulary, then what happens is you have a contextual framework that can transport your thinking to previously undisclosed places, places where your thinking had never transported itself to before. So from a business perspective, this is why it's a travesty that more children aren't really enthused about mathematics in school. I was talking to a school teacher and I said, how many of your students really are plugged into the process and love math? And she said, honestly, it's about 10%. And I get that because I hated it in school, right? But when you hate something, you plug out of it. You don't stay tuned in and then you don't learn it. And it's no wonder that we have so many problems with finances and in most countries because kids aren't plugged into math. And math, it's the language of business. It's the language of finance. If you don't know what a price earnings ratio is on a company, you can't evaluate that in terms of investment criteria. So you can't think like an investor without the financial vocabulary. You can't think as effectively as a business person without the financial vocabulary. What I did at one point when I really wanted to start to increase that stuff is I just got dictionaries of, business dictionaries and investing dictionaries and started to read them and learn the words. And it was like a whole new world for me, right? So language is a major filter. Meta programs is another filter that you're going to learn about in this training. And I'm just assuming that we're going till 5:30 right now. So meta programs, perhaps it's the delivery method that students find so boring. Yeah, that's what we say, Chris. It's like the day they get the school systems as exciting as the video arcade, that's when we're going to have a major shift in education, right? So meta programs is a major filter to perception. I want you to think of meta programs, and you're going to learn all about those here in this training. They're like on-off switches. They're like light switches. Whereas, beliefs and values are more analog. They're not a digital type of a filter. They're analog, meaning you can see the entire range. Whereas meta programs are more digital. It's off, it's on, right? So a meta program is, an example would be, is the person, what do they prefer most in a work environment? Do they prefer to be a leader? Do they prefer to be a member of a team? Or do they prefer to be, a solo player that works on their own? That's one example of a meta program. Another example is, does the person sort by similarity or by differences, right? Does the person look for what's similar to things that they know or by differences. I'll tell you from a learning strategy standpoint, the person who sorts by differences can really have a challenge a lot of times. They'll think, well, they'll be learning something. They're like, I don't get that. That's different from what I do. That's different. Whereas if you sort by similarities in that context, how is that the same to what you do? So if you're learning something new, and I did this, by the way, I was sorting by differences when I was first learning to speak on platforms and do public speaking. I thought, wow, and I had worked for Club Med before that. So I was working on stage, doing a lot of microphone work, doing a lot of entertainment type work. But all of a sudden I was teaching content. And to me, in my head, I was sorting by differences. I made it so different. Oh, this is so different from everything I've always done. And I had a hard time with it. The moment that I said, how is this exactly the same to what I've always done? And I started sorting by similarities, presentation skills went through the roof. So that's a meta program. There is no right, there is no wrong. There's certain contexts where both can be useful. And we'll go into meta programs. Meta programs are actually, you're going to learn a series in this training. You're going to learn a series of 16 questions or so that you can ask somebody in 10 minutes or less that will tell you more about them than they know about themselves. And when you understand about meta programs, you can then tailor an intervention. If you're working with somebody from a transformational perspective, helping to bring out the best in them, and that's what leadership's all about, is helping to bring out the best in yourself, helping to bring out the best in others. When you're doing that, and you understand their meta programs, you can tailor interventions to fit right inside their natural propulsion system. I mean, the master communicator is the person who knows that they've got to tailor their communication differently for everybody that they communicate with. So meta programs becomes hugely, hugely vital. But then you got, in terms of the filters there, you also see, it says your experience of time, space, matter, and energy. That's your experience of time, space, matter, and energy unique to you as a human being, right? So as a species, we have a certain unique experience of time, space, matter, and energy in terms of how we experience the world from a quantum physics perspective, and we're going to be getting deep into that in this training. I hope that you're ready for that. I don't want to stretch you too far, because a mind once stretched to a new dimension can never go back to its original shape again. So we got to make sure that you're ready for this. But your experience of time, space, matter, and energy. You look at when you change species. Well, not that you do, but if you look at a dog experiences the world different than a human being. Their hearing is much better. They can smell emotion. Really, it's like they perceive the world in a different way. I've often said, you've heard me say before, imagine the world as experienced through the perceptual filters of a bat that experiences the world through sonar. Do you think that the world becomes a different place as experienced by the bat? And this speaks right to and goes right to the heart of the subjective experience of reality. And this is the thing that boggled Einstein's mind. It just really bugged him. He hated this concept, right? He hated the concept that there was not an objective world outside of us, as Newton put forth, right? Newton said an apple falls on your head. The apple's the apple. You're you. That's gravity. Everything was separate. But, with quantum physics, we now know that you cannot separate the observer from that which is observed. Everything's intimately interconnected. There is no difference between the observer and that which is observed, and you can't separate them. You can separate them linguistically, but language has limitations. You can separate them, empirically from that perspective, the observer and the observed, but you cannot separate them at the quantum level. There is no difference between the observer and that which is observed. And we're going to be talking about that a lot as we move forward here. All right, so looking at our slide still here, we say that what happens is you got 2 million bits of information coming in every single second. It passes through these filters, attitudes, values, beliefs. The filters are what cause you to delete, distort, and generalize the information. And then what happens is you make an internal map of reality. We call this an IR for short. Thank you, Sarah. Yay, wahoo, the message universe and the cat in a box. That's right, Shelley. You cannot separate, I'm sorry, let's see, so where were we? We delete, we distort, we generalize information, we make an IR. Your IR is fancy the terminology for internal representation. Internal representation is a fancy word for thoughts. So you make a map, an internal map in your mind of an external event. Now, what we know, and one of our presuppositions, one of our assumptions of leadership, is that the map is not the territory. This was actually said by Alfred Korzybski back in 1933 in the book Science and Sanity. He said the map is not the territory. He said that even the best map of reality still could not be reality itself. The best map of California is not California. It's a representation of California. You know, you wouldn't go to a restaurant and eat the menu, right? But people do that all the time with their thinking. They mistake the menu for being the food. They mistake their map of reality for being what it represents. And the map could never be reality, right? So you've got this internal representation that you make. Now, when the 2 million bits of information coming in every second, we delete, distort, and generalize that, and we end up becoming aware of at every second only about 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of that information, which equals about 134 bits. We chunk it together to make it more manageable. And we are aware of 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of that information, and that ends up becoming our internal representation of reality. When you think of the model of the world, we talk a lot about somebody's model of the world. Your model of the world is a combination of your filters inside your head, inside your mind and body, as well as your internal maps of reality. When you think of when people talk about positive thinking, when they talk about The Secret, when they talk about changing your thoughts, when they talk about, auto-suggestion, when they talk about visualization, most people are talking about this realm right here, which is your internal map of reality. They're saying change your thinking, and it changes your world, right? Well, here at the basic level, we do things like that. We learn the strategy scrambler for changing somebody's thoughts about a phobic response maybe, or about something that used to really bother them, and we scramble those thoughts so they can't play the record in the same way again. We do a pattern interrupt oftentimes with something like that. We help people change their thinking. Well, here at the master level, even more so than at the basic level, we're going to look in here at the filters, and we're going to say, wait a second, why don't we just change the filters that create the thoughts in the first place? So think of the realm of The Secret as being changing thoughts, changing thinking. That's changing IRs. Think of the realm of what's behind The Secret. What's the other 95% as what you're learning here. To go in and change the major filters of reality that create the thoughts in the first place. So what we're really talking about is how do you change the basis of personality? How do you change the basis of personality? People say, why would I want to change my personality? I like who I am. Well, who you are has created all of your successes, for sure, up till now. But it's also created all your problems, right? So maybe there's some shifts that it's about time that occur. That's evolution. I'm not talking about, and when you think about it from a spiritual perspective, who you are at your core is love and light and goodness. Now, and we're going to, we'll get into this at different trainings. I go much deeper into this at different trainings, like Billionaire Boot Camp. But who you are is love and light and goodness. How you project yourself into the world, how you express yourself is a result of your personality. Your soul, who you are as a soul, is much deeper than personality. Right? You're unique. You're this individual. But when you make shifts here, I'm not talking about, oh boy, you got to change who you are because who you are sucks. I'm talking about who you are can evolve. It's an evolution of self that becomes everything you've always been and oh so much more. So it encompasses more choice. And remember, we say one of our assumptions of leadership, of empowered leadership, is that choice is always better than less choice. More choice is better than less choice. So what we do is we evolve to a place where we have more choice. Now, your internal maps of reality, we see over on the right-hand side, are made up of VAK, OG, and AD. That's visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory, and auditory digital, or pictures, sounds, feelings, smells, tastes, and self-talk, right? So it's the 5 senses and the auditory digital, which are the words that we use to label our experience of life, either inside our head We've got auditory digital, that's self-talk, or when we express ourselves externally from an auditory digital perspective. Now, another one of our assumptions of empowered leadership hits right to the heart, and there's a duality that you see here. When we say that the map is not the territory, that means your internal representations of reality couldn't be reality, and the problems that people have are because they mistake their map for being the territory all the time. That's why people have the issues that they do, right? And then from another way to look at the map is not the territory, we also say the words that we use, the auditory digital on the far right-hand side, are not the item or the object that they represent. And so a lot of communication specialists, people like Ludwig von Wittgenstein and other analytical philosophers like that, have said that all of our problems, from their perspective, are problems of language or the insufficiencies of language, right? Because if we were to really have a language that was adequate to describe our reality, that language would be numerical. That would be really the only way to, actually, when I say only way, it would be the most precise way to communicate would be if it was numerical, because the words that we use are never adequate to describe. Remember, we say that a picture says 1,000 words, right? And so we use words, people use language to communicate with one another. But what's not immediately obvious is that the language that we use is based upon our interpretation of any individual word, our individual interpretation based upon all of our past experiences and all of that. And the other person may have completely different meanings for the same words. It's ridiculous. You know, when you look at, we do an exercise sometimes in some of our trainings where we'll say, binary. When we say, we'll say, okay, everybody write down, we put people in a group of 6 maybe. We'll say, we want you to write down a word like sex or like education, something that's semantically packed. And when I say semantically packed, what I mean is there's a lot of meaning behind that word for somebody. And we'll say, I want you to write down 3 words that mean the same thing as sex, or 3 words that mean the same thing as education. And then once you've done that, don't show it to anybody else. And once you've done that, then go around the group and you see if you can get the entire group to agree on one of the words that you put down that means the same thing. And it's virtually impossible to get the group to do that because they have such different meanings for people. So we communicate all the time, and we think that the words that we say have a specific meaning, and they do for us, but they can mean a completely different thing for somebody else. You know, think about it. I love you. I mean, could that have a completely different meaning for different people? You better believe it. Then you look at the problems that people have inside relationships, right? So the words that we use are not the item or the object that they represent. Number one, that means that there's oftentimes a disparity between what you think a word means and what somebody else means. But also, if you take it right down to the concept of, you know, something like this. Here, I've got a BlackBerry in my hand, if you can see it on the camera. This is a BlackBerry, right? I've got it in my hand, but it's not. It's not a BlackBerry, right? This is what it is. And a BlackBerry is a word that I use to represent this item. But the problem is that because we have inadequacies in our language, because a word is not the item or object that it represents, people confuse this for being the case all the time. And so they'll use a word to describe themselves, and they'll say, I am depressed. But no, you're not. You're so much more than that. But inherent in using a word to describe ourselves, we've now placed boundary conditions on the unlimited boundlessness that is you. You're not depressed. You're so much more than that. Depressed is a word that we use, but people label themselves and they get stuck on labels that don't represent the thing, right? And that's another major issue that people have. So the words are not the items or the object that they represent, just as the map is not the territory. They are representations that represent something, and they can massively limit people in life. Okay, let's take a look at something. Oh, one other thing I'll say about this this diagram that we see here is it says a state couples with an external physiology which leads to an external behavior. So you have your emotional states, right? So we've got the internal representations that we create of an external reality. Those internal representations or your thoughts couple with an emotional state, you know, a state of procrastination, or a state of motivation, a state of wanton experimentation, a state of ferocious curiosity. So your thoughts, your internal representations coupled with an emotional state and with an external physiology, the way that you use your body, and that winds up in the package of your behavior. So in terms of shifting people's behaviors, and if you want to change your results, if you want to make more money, have better relationships, have greater physical health, what you really have to work with is your behavior. Right? So then the question becomes, what are the precursors for behaviors? The precursors are the IRs, the states, and the physiology. Right? Okay. Enough with that slide. Let's look at the next one here. So the model of communication, this is just another way to look at it, and we're not even going to spend any time on that because we've thoroughly gone over that. This next piece is what I really want you to look at here for a second. We're going to talk about what's called an ESSA loop. I actually think I created this. I've been around long enough that it's like, oh wow, I think this is me. So an ESSA loop means evaluation, state, action, and people in their lives are constantly going through what I call ESSA loops: evaluation, state, action. So every moment in life, we're asking ourselves, we're evaluating things. We're saying, what does this mean? And we're making decisions about what something means. Then we're feeling an emotional state as a result of our evaluation, right? So if, let's see, if somebody puts a post on Facebook, we'll use the real world type thing, puts a post on Facebook and says, boy, people can be real jerks sometimes. And you look at that post and you decide or evaluate and you go, why would they say that about me? Then you internalize that, and would that create a certain emotional state? Yes or no? Type it in there. You got to tell me. Would that create a certain emotion? Yeah, of course. Why would they say that about me? You just made an evaluation there that it had to do with you. In that moment, you feel an emotional state. What emotional state? Write something in for me, guys. What emotional state might you feel if somebody put a post like that, you evaluated and said, oh, why would they say that about me? What types of emotional states might you feel? Sadness we get, angry. Yeah, what else? Why would they say that about me? Hurt, shame, murderous. Wow, Gary. Hurt, okay. Now, out of those emotional states are different. Do states determine actions, yes or no? That's the question. Yes, absolutely. So the emotional states that you feel determine actions. Like, I think it was Gary put murderous. Well, if you really felt that way, that determines certain actions, right? Sorry, he's smiling, I know. If you felt the evaluation was a sad evaluation, that could determine the action too. What do? Somebody says, I go eat ice cream, I eat a bowl of ice cream. No, or I lash out, or it depends on who you are, but the emotional states will absolutely determine the action, right? If they say people are jerks, what if you evaluated that and you said, wow, how, you felt like, how much pain must this person be in to be saying something like that? What kind of emotional state might that feel if that was the evaluation? Write something in for me. Compassion, nice. What kind of emotional state might somebody feel if that was the evaluation? This person's really in pain. Emotional control, nice. Are different actions taken from there? And the answer is yes, right? Empathy, beautiful. So we're constantly, every moment of every day, we're going through these ESSA loops, evaluating. We're saying, what's the meaning of this? How do I feel? And what am I going to do? Here's another way to look at this. Okay, this is the chain of results. So in life, and by the way, when you get this, I want to share this with you. When you get this and you couple this with the language skills that you've learned from the basic level training, I know some of you are still finishing up your basic level training. That's cool. You're here. It's good. We can keep the path of education going and stuff like that. But when you couple this with the language skills, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second, it's going to blow you away. This is going to make you masterful. So the evaluation, we're constantly placing meaning on things. We're saying, what does this mean? State, how do I feel? What am I going to do? Behavior, and that ends up in the package of your results. So we can work our way backwards. If we want to transform our results, physically, emotionally, spiritually, or financially, or if we want to transform the results of others physically, emotionally, spiritually, or financially, then we need to help ourselves and others take charge of our behaviors, right? But if we want to take charge of our behaviors, we have to be in charge of our emotional states. I ask this question a lot. I'll ask you this right now. How many of you feel like you're pretty good communicators? Write in there if you feel like you're a pretty good communicator. Let me know. Write it in there. Yep. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good communicator? Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Feel like you're a pretty good communicator. Do you ever get in an angry state and have all your communication skills go out the window? Maybe some answers. Yes, yes, yes. Right. So all of our behavior is state dependent. It's dependent upon the emotional state that we're in. When you hear about somebody that has challenges with learning or, like test anxiety, exam anxiety, that's all a result of if somebody does really well in class and doesn't do well on a test because of the anxiety, it's emotionally driven. Right? That's why we teach a state like the learning state or expanded awareness to go into when we're learning, because it's a state of uptime where we're outside of ourselves. And as far as we can tell, it's impossible to hold a negative state in consciousness when you're in a state of uptime expanded awareness, right? So remember that, where you focus on the dot above eye level and you go into an expanded awareness, you bring your focus back. And by the way, I'll be teaching you advanced ways to use that in this particular training. So all behavior is state dependent. If somebody's in a state of procrastination, not much gets done. If somebody's in a state of wanton desire, a lot gets done. Well, on good sides and bad sides sometimes. Rarely only with my wife. I got you, man. Incoherence. Okay. Now, before the state, so then we have to ask ourselves, if we want to take charge of our results, if our behaviors create our results and our states create our behaviors, then what creates the emotional states that we feel in the first place? And the answer is the meaning that we associate to things. The meaning that we associate to things creates the emotional states that we feel. And we took a look at that. We just had a great example of that. We evaluate something to mean one thing. Well, then what causes our evaluations? All the filters inside our head cause our evaluations. Now, we also make evaluations moment to moment based on our, it's kind of an automated system. We're not even aware that we're doing it. Human beings are meaning-making creatures. We're constantly going through life saying, what does this mean? How do I feel? What am I going to do? What does this mean? How do I feel? What am I going to do? These are the ESSA loops that we're going through. Now, what would happen here, let me give you a question. What would happen if you could assist people to take charge of the underlying meaning that they associate to anything? Anything. Think about it. There's people out there that think that all money is bad and that the world and corporations are bad and they rape and pillage the planet and to create a company would be a bad thing. That's not who I am, and employers are bad and, blue-collar workers are what. Now, these are based on various value systems, aren't they? Because then you got the opposite side that you could have a whole different value system. So your values determine the meaning that you place on anything. And it's cyclical. The meaning you place on anything determines your values too. So the values were installed based on meaning that you associated to things. When you were young, if you saw that your parents were really rich but never happy, you might have made a decision that meant that money was a bad thing, and that shifted your values as a result. Right? So these things work in together. But, one of the most effective ways that I found to help people change meaning at the unconscious level is to literally just rewire them with language, right? So I had a woman that called me up in a coaching environment. And by the way, a lot of people say, how much should I charge for personal coaching with this stuff? I think that what you do is probably at least as valuable as what a lawyer does or what a doctor does. And you look toward their fees. $300 an hour is not outrageous at the basic level. And I think it's worth at least $500 an hour what you do when you come for the master level if you're going to do a professional coaching capacity. I raised my rates up to $10,000 an hour because I had to price myself out because I had so much coaching at $700 an hour. So I priced myself out of the market and I still got coaching. Now, because I've been doing strategy sessions and stuff, it's kind of gotten diluted. But once again, as we're building the business up in a brand new way, I'll be raising my rates back up to, I'll still do strategy sessions because I like to have a feel for where people are at. But from a personal perspective, what you do is tremendously valuable. If you can help somebody change their life by changing the meaning and changing their results, you help somebody double their income, what's that worth to them? It's infinitely valuable. So a woman called me up. She says, I can't start my own business because, now we recognize that. That's a presupposition of cause and effect. She says, I can't start my own business because I'm a single mother. And, I've had to be home with my kids. I've never gotten to learn anything about business. There's another cause and effect. I've never gotten to learn anything about business because I've had to be home with my kids. Well, think about it for a second. A lot of these questions I see popping up right now, money is a value, Sarah. Yes, people can value money. So I'll come around to that later, just because we're gonna have to keep those questions to the context in which we can answer them. But we'll do time for that at some point. I want you to get this piece right here. She says, I can't launch my business because I've been raising my 2 kids. I'm a single mother. I've never learned anything about business. That's what she said. I'm listening for cause and effect underneath. And I said, really? I said, that's very, that's fascinating. I said, because the very fact, the way I look at it, I hear what you're saying, but the way I look at it, the very fact that you are a single mother means you're the perfect means. That's a complex equivalence. Now I'm weaving meaning. Stay with me. The very fact that you're a single mother means that you should be the perfect person to launch a business. Why? Because listen to me, because my business is my baby, right? And it's the same skills that it takes to raise a child that it takes to raise a business. And how long have you been doing this for? She said, well, 12 years. And I said, 12 years you've been doing this for. You've been raising them for 12 years, right? So what kind of wicked skills must you have in terms of raising a baby, like a business? So, yeah, I guess so. Really, it's the same. She's sorting by differences. Now I get to help her to begin to sort by the sameness, all the ways that it's the same, talking about business and raising children, going back and forth, and literally shifting the meaning at the unconscious level, which then causes an emotional state of ferocious curiosity, or even perhaps moving into burning desire, which is going to change her behavior and her results. Check it out. This is powerful stuff. Very, very powerful stuff. And that's just linguistic stuff. By the way, you guys are going to be learning quantum linguistics in this training, which is going to rock your world. Rock your world. Very, very cool stuff. We got 2 minutes left. I want to go into something that we went into. I think we went into this with the basic training, but we're going to do another layer of paint here from a new master level perspective, right? We say we have a hierarchy of change. And inside this hierarchy, you have various levels upon which you can create change for an individual. We have the level of the environment. If you change somebody's environment, you put them in a different room, you change their environment. You've got the level of behaviors, and we've talked a little bit about that. We said that if we change states, we can help people to change behaviors, and that can change results. But sometimes, if they don't feel like they've got the capabilities to embrace new behaviors, that could stop them. It could change their states, couldn't it? Maybe they don't have the capability to embrace certain behaviors. So we might have to change them on the level of capabilities, which could be a strategy issue. Strategies operate at the level of behaviors and capabilities, and we went into strategy work at the basic level, right? We could change somebody at the level of beliefs. And if you change somebody's belief, like let's say that somebody has a belief that money is a bad thing, and we change that belief to be that money is a force, it's a tool. Tools are ethicless, people have ethics, and it can be used for a force for good. Well, then that may change what they're capable of doing, change their behaviors, and change their environments that they find themselves in. But a more abstract level of change, I won't say better, a more profound level of change would be to change that person at the level of values or assist them. We don't do it to them. Remember, this is a do with process, not a do to process. So we help them to change their values. They're the one that actually does the change, right? We got to keep that in mind. So we help them to change their values, and we help them to value wealth creation as being a means for making a difference in their life and the lives of the people they love and care about. Well, that person's going to be in a completely different place. And maybe we clean up any conflicts around that inside their values. What happens is the higher we go up in the hierarchy of change, there's more of an opportunity to be a cascading effect. So if you change somebody's values, and let's say they didn't value money at one time, and now money became the top value in their life, which would be a kind of scary thing. Let's say wealth became the top value in their life, wealth creation or wealth. Well, that's going to change. That has a cascading effect of changing the beliefs, the capabilities, the behaviors, and their environment. if it really became the most important thing and it wasn't even on our hierarchy before. That's going to have a huge, huge, huge impact for that person. That's why I say 9 times out of 10, somebody has a money issue, it's a values issue. If they have a relationship issue, it's a values issue. If they have a health issue, it's a values issue. When you learn how to make change at the level of values, you're learning very, very powerful stuff. And then you go up to the level of identity. You know, the most important thing that somebody holds on to and will fight for is their sense of identity. So if they don't believe that there's somebody that, that's capable of succeeding, and you help them to shift that, and you shift their sense of identity so that they now know themselves as being somebody who was born to succeed, you're going to have a completely different identity. Donald Trump says, "I'm a winner. I always win." That's a belief. That's a feeling of conviction about who he is as a person. And those are the most powerful beliefs that we can possibly have. Up above identity, we have the level of spirituality. And it's a more abstract level. If we make a change at the level of spirituality, like if somebody finds God or becomes a born-again Christian, you see their entire life changes. It changes their identities, their values, their beliefs, and all of that. Or, you know, you see people in the world today in certain countries where the religion determines everything about, now that's more of a dogmatic religion that's based on the spiritual that determines all these things. And we have that in other places too. You know, I mean, you have somebody like a Mother Teresa type, and her spiritual beliefs determine who she was as an individual, her values, her beliefs. And if you make a change at that level, it can be very profound and all-encompassing. So what does this mean to us? What it means is that when we're looking to help to facilitate change with ourselves or with other people, that we have to be cognizant of this. I will typically look to make the least amount of change to make the greatest shift possible. So, you know, I'll do a lot of talking, and you're going to be learning how to do a detailed personal history in this training, which, you know, a lot of people have questions when they go through the basic training, like what technique do I use when? And you're going to learn a questioning flow, and it's worth the entire price of this training 20 times over, just that one process that will, as you ask the questions, it will cause the right techniques to automatically present themselves to you for working with somebody. And you're actually going to do a complete personal breakthrough session with somebody else in this training. That's a 5-hour session. If you were to do it professionally for $500 an hour, it'd be like a $2,500 session that you'll do with somebody, helping them with a major thing that they're dealing with. And you'll do that back and forth. That's part of for certification requirements. So we got a lot of things, but we got to be aware of the various levels that we can make change upon, and the pervasive nature of making change at the higher levels and how that can have a cascading effect. It can actually work both ways. It's just more likely to be cascading if it works from the top down. All right. So the final piece that I'll have you take a look at here is this. We say that any type of neurological repatterning, which would include hypnosis, which would include NLP, next generation NLP, beyond NLP, all this stuff would be a do-to process. Or most people used to think of it as a do-to process. I'm sorry. It's actually a do-with process. You know, so if you thought of 2 copper wires, if you had 2 copper coils, and you had an induction, you had an AC current that was coming through one and induced out through the other coil, that's an induction where it's being drawn in. And when you can think of all these techniques, think of, all the stuff that we're learning from a transformational coaching perspective, it's the induction of a new state of consciousness or a profound difference in the state of consciousness of another through leadership and communication, right? It is the induction of a new state of consciousness. It's not something that we're doing to them. They used to think that in hypnosis, you did hypnosis to somebody or you did NLP on somebody. It's not that at all. It's a do-with process, not a do-to process. It's the induction of a profound shift in the state of consciousness of a person through the various techniques and tools that we're using. And you'll be experiencing that here in this training, a profound shift in your consciousness, as well as learning how to do it for other people. Guys, hey, this is session 1. Look out in your email. We'll be sending you an announcement of the next session, which I believe, I'm almost positive we'll do it Wednesday at the same time. I want everybody to write in on the chat bar just as we're checking out here. What are you most excited about right now in your life? Write it in there if you would. What are you most excited about right now in your life? Write it right there in the chat bar if you would. What are you most excited about right now in your life? Tap it in there. Starting my business, says Wendy. Values change, says Jared. Love it. What are you most excited about in your life? To be here right now, says Sabine. Beautiful. Tanya, thanks, Chris. I'm excited about transforming my skills to new levels so I can make more of a difference to others. Excited about the possibility and moving into coaching and transforming people's lives. So beautiful. Beautiful. And I'll say that, what am I I'm most excited about that we're here and that we're doing this thing. I'm excited about the launches that we have going on. By the way, just FYI, if any of you, I'm launching a telesummit this week. We will be emailing people out for that. I've got 24 speakers that I'm going to be interviewing over the next 12 weeks, 2 calls a week. There's so much going on the professional speaking business and how to build a speaking empire. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm talking to a lot of different professionals, so that's going to be fun. We've got that going on, and we've got the full launch of the basic beginning level training next week, and we've got this class. This is awesome. This is the beginning of a really a huge dream of mine. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm thrilled that we're doing this and we can do the education this way. This is very organic. It's easy to present. So we'll be looking forward to the next session. Chris says, great session. Thank you. Thanks, Tanya. Thanks, everybody. And watch your email for next session, the session number 2. And maybe we'll begin then. We still haven't started yet. The best is yet to come. All right, guys. Take care. Make every day an epic adventure. See you later.